Hello, friends, and welcome to another stream of Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is Mike November Whiskey coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan, here in this beautiful custom scenery airport of Romeo Charlie Sierra Sierra. Tonight we are flying the latest experimental build of the fly-by-wire A320neo in the China Southern livery. This will be the last time we fly in this livery sequentially. I think we're going to fly in this livery one more time, but we'll be in a different plane. I think we're heading to Japan after we get to Shanghai tonight, which is, of course, our destination, Zulu Sierra Papa Delta. Tonight should be a fun one. It looks like we've got some weather heading out of Taipei, and we've got some weather heading into Shanghai, and we'll brief what that's going to look like once we get in the cockpit and start setting things up. But other than that, pretty quick flight tonight. It's going to be an hour and 40 minutes block time. It'll be less than that actually in the air. It's already late East Coast time, so I'm going to be moving things along tonight and trying to get into the air as quickly as possible. We'll also be checking out the latest toolbar pushback mod, which I've been demoing in the last few flights. And we'll talk a little bit about Cross the Pond, because tomorrow is the first day of signups, and I managed to get a sign-up slot for approximately, I think, 21 Zulu tomorrow, which is on the earlier side, which is fantastic. So we'll probably have our pick of routes, and we'll talk about how I'm thinking about choosing my cross-the-pond routing once we're in the air. So with that, let's get the stream cam on so you guys can watch me grimace as I try to control this thing. And let's take one last quick look at this livery before we hop in. Kind of beautiful little details here, kind of decals on the wing, and of course the Airbus model number there on the side. Love these little details all throughout the model. They really do a great job with these. And zooming out here, oop, I'm clipping through jetway there. We are in Taipei. This is custom scenery for this airport and the surrounding area. It is a resource hog for sure, so my frames are definitely struggling here on the ground. I'm kind of chopping between like low 30s and mid 40s, but once we're in the air, that should stabilize. We'll get a nice crisp 50 to 65 frames per second once we're airborne. All right, enough of that preamble. We are here to fly, so let's hop into the cockpit, where we're currently cold and dark. We have a ground power unit available, so first things first, let's power on the aircraft. We'll start by turning on our batteries and just making sure voltages are within limits, and they are. Go ahead and connect to external power at this time. Fantastic. And that is a new beeping noise. Got some master alarms. Not sure what that's about, but I'm already frightened. We'll see what the eCam says once it boots up. Oh wow, interesting. Yeah, I do not know what that is, but hopefully that doesn't interfere with our flight this evening. But external power is on, but everything just sounds like it turned off. So if you bear with me, I'm going to try that one more time. Let's get external power off. Batteries 2, batteries 1 off. And let's restart. And here we go. Yep, that's already better. We're not getting any weird master alarms. When in doubt, power off and power back on. Works for airlines as well. Okie dokie. So let's get the rest of the overhead panels set up. We'll get the integrated lights on. We'll get the nav and logo lights on. Let folks know on the ground that we're here. Got no smoking to auto, emergency exit to arm. We'll keep seatbelt signs and pumps off for now while we refuel. And what else we gotta do? We gotta turn on the crew supply oxygen, ground control to on, and start aligning the IRSs. Next, we want to get the APU online so we can start the boarding process. So we'll test the do the fire test with APU in the engines. Nope, don't want to open that. There we go. It's one. Engine 1. engine 2, and cargo. That's all good. So let's get that APU going. So master switch enabled. 1, 2, 3, and begin the start sequence. And we can watch that spool up here. But while that does its thing, we'll set up the rest of the cockpit. So brighten up these screens a bit. We'll continue its startup sequence. Get QNH, get this onto hectopascals constraints. Brighten up the glare shield a bit. We'll set up the FMC when we brief our departure. And we'll come over here, we'll turn off the co-pilot flight director and turn down these screens because we don't need them. Alright, let's turn up the ECAM upper display and lower display, make sure everything looks good. So landing gear is indicating down, and the lever is down, anti-skid is on. Clock is set at 29 Zulu, that's correct. Brake pressure and APU is available. So let's get the APU bleed on. And let's get folks boarded. So weights and balance, let's send the request to SimBrief. We have 130 passengers tonight, so a bit lighter than last time on the payload. And they are beginning their boarding. Okay, we've got cockpit oxygen pressure, that looks good. Oil quantity on the engine page looks good. And confirm we have hydraulic fluid, that all looks great. Alright, so coming down here, we're on Unicom tonight. We are on the VATSIM network, but there are no controllers in range, so we'll stay on Unicom until we enter controlled airspace. The thrust levers are active in the idle position. I guess some integrated lights on for the lower panel here. Weather system is off, predictive wind shear system is off, engine modes set to normal, and engine masters are both off for 1 and 2. ATC is on standby. We'll squawk 7000 until we get an assigned squawk code if we enter controlled airspace, and TCAS is on standby as well. Coming down here, ground spoilers are retracted and disarmed, flaps are up, rudder trim is reset, parking brake is on, cockpit doors open, and that is that for the panel prep. Next, let's hop over to our fly pad here. Let's connect to SimBrief, pull that in. We'll quickly brief our weather. Come on. Come on, fly pad. There we go. Oof, geez, these little bugs are starting to make me nervous. But let's brief our departure weather. So we are at Romeo Charlie Sierra Sierra in Taipei. This is a recent report from about half an hour ago. We got variable winds at 2 knots. Visibility at 6,000. Few clouds at 800, so low ceiling. Broken at 1,800. Broken at 4,000. Temperature is 23 dew point 20. QNH 1015. And no significant weather reported. We'll check the weather more in depth on the operating flight plan to see if there's any forecast predictions that we need to worry about on our way out. You can see on this map here that there's definitely some weather here, and there's definitely some weather north of us. So boarding is already completed. Fantastic. Looking at Shanghai, also recent reports. This is in meters per second, so just double it for knots, so about 60 knot winds, visibility 5 kilometers, light rain and mist, low ceilings at 900. We'll also pay attention to that forecast, so that may change as we head on route. Let's put in the QNH value 1015 into the glare shield there, so that's all set. Let's brief the actual flight plan.
Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, on behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to receive final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having you aboard this flight. If there's anything we do to make your flight any more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask. Welcome aboard.
Alright, so just making sure everything's correct here. We are China Southern 9084. We're heading from Taipei to Shanghai. Our alternate is Romeo Kilo Papa Charlie. The these are the correct engines. We're in the fly-by-wire A320neo. And the cost index 15, flight level 390, triple pause is nice and high. We have a headwind tonight of 9 knots, that'll slow us down a bit, but still expecting in-air time of just under an hour and a half. So not too bad. Although max shear rate 4.3 at top of descent, so we should anticipate turbulence on our descent, which is not shocking if we're going to be descending into weather. We'll just be aware of that. We're taking off runway 28 tonight, which makes sense. The winds are nice and light and variable. The Victor Victor 1 Bravo departure, and we're expecting to arrive, let's see here, the Bravo Kilo 91 Alpha arrival to runway 35 right, and just checking the winds currently. Does 35 make sense? They're coming. We'll have to see if there's a better one available, but that's basically a crosswind. If there's not another runway option, we'll have to just prep for a crosswind landing. All right. So that's all good. Looking at the fuel real quick. A good chunk for our alternate, and then extra contingency and final reserve. We might actually need that alternate tonight if conditions aren't great when we arrive. And I think that's fine. That is plenty of fuel, and that will give us flexibility to maybe even find another airport other than our planned alternate if we need to. But I think with an auto land system on this thing, we should be fine coming into Shanghai, because they should have a Cat 3 ILS available. All right. Coming down here, just looking to see if there's any interesting notes here. No, we're going straight to 39,000 feet according to this. Last time we made a mistake by doing our top of descent exactly when the flight plan told us to, and it required us slowing down significantly very quickly, so that's kind of what tripped us up. We ended up being too high for our approach, and we had to go missed. We're going to go back to our normal strategy of planning our top of descent based on the aircraft's actual descent rate and what the actual altitude restrictions are on our star for arrival. So it was a fun test. I got to learn a bit more about the missed approach procedure, which I definitely botched. But if we had to do it again, I'd be able to do it well. And that's why we practice. All right, looking at the shear rate values, they're all, they're not low. So we'll have to see. We may not get a lot of seatbelt sign off time on this flight. That's fine, nice and short. Looking at the detailed METAR here for departure. There is some showers and rain in the forecast between now and 4 Zulu, so we may encounter some weather on the way out. On our destination, oh, that's the alternate. So the alternate looks great, cav okay. But for the actual destination, light rain and mist right now, and we got light showers and rain expected. And thunderstorms, rain, and mist possible as well. All right. That all looks good. So let's get our fuel on board. $7,236. I'll take about 5 minutes. While that does its thing, let's get our charts organized. Still have our old flight in here, so let's load the new one. Zoom brief, that looks good. There's our routing tonight. Very interesting routing, kind of flies straight up and then cut direct west to do the rest over land. Not sure what's driving that. You kind of see the airways over here, and there is a bit of a gap here. I'm sure there's a story as to why we can't just cut through, but this is our routing. Let's see. So we are expecting the Victor Victor 1 Bravo departure. So let's start with getting our taxi information. Airport info is usually what we're looking for, but not this time. Airports. Yes, there we go. Very simple airport. And what runway were we expecting tonight? Navigraph is tripping out on me all of a sudden. Let's close out of that. There we go. Was it runway 28? I've already forgotten. Let's pin that. Runway 28, okay. So we'll taxi. We can't taxi via Delta Bravo Alpha because that's the military apron, but we can taxi via Echo all the way to the Echo hold point here to maximize our runway roll. And for our departure, so I guess it was the Victor Victor 1 Bravo, otherwise known as Vivid 1 Bravo, I guess. Yeah, Victor Victor 1 Bravo. And for runway 28, that would be 7 miles to Dicta. There's a speed restriction there, so we'll get that into the box. And then we'll turn to low bar, then to Senna, and then to Vivid, and then to Piano, and the rest of our way. Alright, there's some pretty aggressive climb gradients, but we can definitely make that no problem. So climb on runway heading until 600 feet, then direct to Dicta, then low bar, Senna, Vivid, and then Piano. And we've got altitude steps here. But we'll have to be careful of terrain. Got some obstacles there. It looks like 4,000 generally is when we'd be clear of terrain around this area. I just remember that from our approach plate from before. But this is looking like 9,100. So absent ATC, we'll just do our initial climb out to 9,100, and we'll decide when to clear ourselves higher in case the views are nice. But let's put in an initial altitude setting of 9,100. And we'll hand fly it until 400 feet. At which point we can go direct, or 450 feet, sorry, where is it here? Sorry, to 600 feet, hit autopilot, go direct to Dicta, and then we'll keep climbing to 9,100. Alright, that sounds good, we'll pin that. And I'm not going to brief emergencies tonight because, again, I want to be fast with this. So those are the charts we'll need to get out of here, and we'll worry about our arrival charts which are in the air. Alright, so we're still refueling, but we can get the box started in the meantime. So data page, IRSs, all showing nav. AC status, LEAP engines are correct. We are still in the latest AIRAC cycle until, I guess, Wednesday. Going to init A, let's pull in our flight plan from SimBrief. Make sure it's all correct. So from Taipei to Shanghai, alternate is Romeo Kilo Papa Charlie. We're China Southern 9084. Triple pause is nice and high. Does that jive with the OFP? 55536. I'll just pump that in. Cost index 15, flight level 390. That all looks good to me. Thanks to the flight plan, let's get our departure programmed in. So we're departing runway 28 via the Victor Victor 1 Bravo. And go ahead and insert that. And we'll just check to make sure that looks like the chart that we just briefed. So there's Dicta, low bar, Senna, Vivid, Piano, and then that is the end of our departure. That all looks great. And we even have the speed restriction at Dicta already loaded there. No additional detail in altitude, but that's fine. We'll just stick with the plan that we briefed. Alright, so get this back to ARC. Come back down here. What else do we need to know? I don't think we need to program any fixes in at this point. And there were no rad navs on the departure, so that is fine. Okay. So no red navs, we'll skip that. We'll go back to init B. Are we done with refueling? We are done with refueling, so the weights and balances should be spot on. So going to init B and pull in 0 fuel weight, 56 tons even, and that is exactly what the flight plan says. So get that in there. We have a headwind tonight of 9 knots. So headwind of 9. And our block fuel is 7.2. There it goes. It's doing its calculation. And now let's put in our route reserve, alternate, and final values. So 0.6, 2.3, and 1. Or I guess 0.9. 0.6, 2.3, and 0.9. 0.6, 2.3, and 0.9. And that gives us 15 minutes of extra time, and that is perfect. Happy with that. Next, let's go to performance. Again, I'm feeling a little lazy tonight, so let's plan to do a toga takeoff. Let's check fuel prediction page. Still not functioning, at least the way I'm used to seeing it. But we'll just use this 0 fuel weight as a proxy, 24.6, and we'll set it the old way by lining it up 24.6, so that will probably be around there. So that is all good for the trim there. And for toga, what was that setting? Flight control, it looks like 0.5 up. Let's make sure I'm happy with that. Let's get it a bit closer to 25. That is a 0.4 up. Let's go 0.5 up. What the hell? Alright, so flaps 1, and then up 0.5 on the trim. We won't do flex takeoff, we'll do toga tonight. So we'll just have the mod calculate our view speeds for us. So V1 is 130, V rotate is 131, and single engine is 135. And thrust reduction, acceleration altitude, and engine acceleration altitudes look fine because the airport's about 10 feet above sea level, and this is 1,500 feet above that, so that's all good. Transition level, or sorry, transition altitude rather, 11,000 feet. And there it is, 11,000 feet, so that looks good as well. Alright, next up we want to go and program in our speed restriction at 210 knots pre-selected. That looks good as well. Alright friends, so I think we're all set here. We're on the APU, so at this point we'll get the strobes to auto, we'll disconnect from external power. And we'll get the jetway, power, catering, and baggage away. Let's just make sure that all worked. Yep. And we'll just wait for the doors to confirm that they're closed. And then we'll call the tug. And while we wait, we'll just do our before start checklist to the line. So cockpit prep is complete, fuel message is sent, gear pins and covers will be removed when we connect the tug. Signs are on and auto, IRSs are on nav, fuel quantity 70,040,000 kilograms. Takeoff data is set, bow ref is set, before start checklist to the line. The cargo door is still open. Down it goes. And secured. Perfect. So let's plan our pushback. We are taking off runway 28. So we will push back and face to our left. Push back here and face to our left. And that will get us right on echo, which will be nice. So we'll do it right behind this line. And enter. Let's request pushback.
Cockpit to ground.
This is ground. Stand by. Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed and all ground equipment is removed.
The parking brakes are set. You may lift.
Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
It is starting to rain.
We are cleared for start and push.
Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
All right.
Parking brakes are released.
Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence.
It will start in the sequence.
Sonshan traffic, China Southern 9084, pushing back from stand 8. Sonshan traffic. Before start checklist below the line, windows and doors are closed. Beacon is coming on for engine start. Thrust levers are at idle. Parking brake is turned off. Before start checklist complete, we'll set engine mode to ignition. Bleeds are on. Engine 2 start. And we'll start our timer. And measure the chrono. To time our actual engine start. And while that happens, enjoy our pushback. Take a look around. Wave to the ground crew there. Thanks for your service, fellows.
Once again, we'd like to welcome you on board. Your safety is our top priority, so we appreciate a few minutes of your attention while we demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft. You can follow along with the safety information card in your seat back pocket. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the flat metal edge into the buckle and pull on the strap to tight. The release should lift the top flap of the buckle. Please keep your seatbelt fastened low and tight across your lap, even when the seatbelt sign is off, and have it visible to the crew.
Oh, geez, fuel pumps.
Your life vest is in a
Fuel pumps
pocket.
on, seatbelt signs on.
Wrap the strap around your waist. Secure the buckle and pull the strap tight. As you exit the aircraft, place the vest by pulling down firmly on the red tab. Also going into the tubes on both sides.
Alright. Another pilot, another airport. Romeo Charlie Tango Papa. Not sure where that is exactly.
All exits are clearly marked to the side overhead. If necessary, floor level lighting will illuminate the aisles to help find the exits. Please take a moment now to locate your closest exit and remember it may be behind you.
Alright, engine 2 is available.
Please set your parking brake.
Engine 1 start. And setting our parking brake.
Parking brake set.
Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
Ground. You may disconnect.
Pretty good pushback.
Okay, sir. Cleared to disconnect. Pin has been removed. See you at the side. Have a good flight.
Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
If you have any questions about the safety features of this aircraft, please don't hesitate to ask. Looking to use electronic cigarettes is never let on any flight. Tampering with disabling or destroying smoke detectors and access specials is a federal offense and could result in a fine.
Alright, at this point we'll lock the cabin door. And it does actually make it quieter. We can hear the announcer while the doors open. But once the doors are closed, the cabin crew gets a little muted. That's a nice detail from the fly-by-wire. And this fire truck is just like, to hell with you. Oh no. Good job, man. How about the, nope, that guy, yep, no, they're all avoiding me. How is that? That's next level. I've never seen the ground vehicles avoid me before. Alright, we got 2 good engine starts. Engine mode back to normal. Configure flaps for takeoff. Flaps 1. Ground spoilers are armed. Start squawking on auto. And get our taxi lights on. And because of the weather, we'll just turn our runway turn-off lights on as well. And that all looks good. We will come here and just test our flight controls. Full left, full right, neutral, full forward, full back, and neutral. Rudder disconnect, full left, full right, and neutral. All right. Close that mod. And I think we are ready to taxi. Parking brakes off, let's give it a little power. Turn the chrono off until we are on our takeoff roll. So we're measuring engine time with this clock here. We'll measure in-air time with the chrono. Alright, now as we are rolling, we'll get our weather system online, wind shear system as well. And before takeoff checklist, flight controls are checked, flight instruments are checked, briefings confirmed, flap setting is set to 1, V-speeds and toga is set. ATC is on auto, ECAM memo landing, sorry, ECAM memo takeoff. Hasn't shown up yet, but we'll start. I'll set max. There it is there. We'll ping the cabin crew. We'll do takeoff config, ECAM memo, takeoff no blue. Before takeoff checklist to the line. We'll do the rest of our takeoff checklist once we get to the hold point. Here we're staying on taxiway Echo, staying very clear of the military apron to our right. This will take us all the way to the hold point for runway 28. At this point we could also turn the APU bleed off, and the APU is coming off as well. Otherwise we're just going to burn fuel needlessly. I see the red signs coming up. That's indicating our hold point for runway 28. So we'll start slowing down. Brakes are very sensitive. Alright, and we're just about at our hold point, so we'll slow down fully here. And at this point we'll get everything else ready for takeoff. So TCAS can come on, ATC to on, strobes to on, we'll get the landing lights on and takeoff lights on. And then we will do our before takeoff checklist below the line. So takeoff runway is confirmed, 28. Cabin crew is advised, TCAS is on TAR, engine mode is on normal, and packs are on for this toga takeoff. Let us roll. Sonshan traffic, China Southern 9084 is taking runway 28 for takeoff. Sonshan traffic. Don't see anyone on approach. wonder if you can hear me from there. Alright, taking the runway. And let's turn. And we got plenty of runway. We'll just do a rolling start regardless. So takeoff. Power to 50%. Engines are stable. Toga. Man Toga SRS. Knots. We are flying down this runway. V1, rotate. That was so quick. Positive rate, gear up. At 400 feet, 500 feet, 600 feet, we'll engage the autopilot. Our transition altitude. Huh, it hasn't told me to go to lever climb, but I know we need to. So thrust climb, climb. Speed checked, flaps up. Spoilers disarmed. Got the nose lights off there. And approaching dicta at the speed restriction. Oh, get the chrono going. Alright, once we're on the path for low bar, oh, the TCAS is working. There is a plane to our left about 10 miles. Can't really see them with all this cloud. It looks real bad there. Yeah, but there's another aircraft. The TCAS is working. That's awesome. There they go. So long. So let's get back to managed speed. Interesting, it's not letting me go back to managed speed. Can I do it manually? There we go. Alright. So accelerating to 250 knots. And let's take a look outside real quick. Barely see the airport back there. All the cloud cover. We're well above the terrain. And I think at this point we can go ahead and clear ourselves to our cruise altitude. So let's just remind ourselves what it is. Cruise is 39,000. That's what I thought. Oh. Oh, We'll go ahead and do open climb. Hey Cass, how's it going? It is going alright, although I can't get my autopilot buttons to work here, which is frustrating. We had some light weather coming out of Taipei, but we've got some pretty nasty weather waiting for us in Shanghai once we get there. I'm going to restart my the software I use for my peripherals because it's not really working well tonight. We're working through some technical issues, but I think we're doing all right now. Everything's back on, and let me just test. Let me see if I can do open climb. Yeah, all right, that seemed to have done it. All right, so we're accelerating. We're at 10,000 feet. We will get these landing lights off. We'll go to standard QNH. Go to airport, and we are looking good for our climb. Zebo, that may have been an autocorrect from fly-by-wire, I'm guessing. But yes, I'm using the fly-by-wire A320, the latest experimental build. But for the periphery, for the peripherals, the controls I use SPAD.next to customize the inputs. That allows me to do cool things with like the Logitech radio panels. I can actually get telemetry data, airspeed, altitude, vertical speed, QNH. Quite good stuff. Alright, everything else is looking good for our climb. We'll get seatbelt signs off at this point because it's going to get bumpy later. Let's take a look at the weather we're leaving behind us. Looking far ahead, this is the crazy left-hand turn that will just have us beeline for the Chinese mainland, and then we'll continue the rest of the routing to Shanghai overland, which is an interesting routing. There doesn't seem to be any active airways in this space over the water here, so just hit a dead end, bank left, and then continue on our way. Seriously, the cloud effects are absolutely nuts, and I insist on running it on ultra settings. It's like the only ultra setting that I will not negotiate. I will make my graphics card burn like the fires of hell just to kind of get these clouds. It's just amazing. People give Asobo a lot of shit, but what they've achieved is absolutely breathtaking. Let's take another quick look at the METAR information, see if we've got an update. We do. We've got light rain and mist. The winds are quoted in meters per second. I believe that's a Chinese convention. To convert to knots, you just roughly double it. So it's about 14 knot winds. And if it keeps coming out of 80, that might mean a crosswind landing, whether we like it or not. Ceilings have gotten lower. Broken clouds at 800 now. And of course we've got this giant blob here. If you don't want to read the METAR information, just look at the weather map here, and there's Shanghai just underneath there, and it's just covered in like yellow, red, and blue. So there'll be some soup to fly through. Now we're 10 miles out of Piano, which will be the end of our SID. I met our command in chat. I'm not sure what you mean by METAR command. Is there a way to like share the METAR information in the chat box? Oh, no way. I'll have to look into that. So type in like slash something and then the METAR information just kind of blasts in the chat. That's fun. Feel free to keep feeding me those tips. If you've been doing the streaming stuff for a while and you're like, hey, there's a way for Mike November Whiskey to do this better, like, I'm definitely open to it. Alright, when we get to our cruise tonight, we will quickly brief our top of descent, and then in the delta between start of cruise and when we need to plan our descents, which is roughly 40 minutes before departure, we're going to chat across the pond, because stuff is getting real. And it's getting to the point where I need to start deciding what I'm going to do for that. Oh, interesting. You can create predictions about the landing rate, speed of descent with streaming tools. That would be great, because like I have my descent rate flash on the screen when I land, but it would be great to have a better sense of what I could reasonably target given the conditions. And my landings as of late have been total shite. Like I've now, out of the last 3 streams, I've bounced the plane twice, which is embarrassing. But not tonight. Despite the weather and the crosswind, we are not bouncing this thing. It will be truly butter. Butter at room temperature. Truly smoothable, soft butter. Taking a look outside. Just awesome. One thing I want to try to figure out, I'm getting great frame rates. I'm getting north of 60 frames, but as I pan around, I do get kind of annoying stutters here and there. I'm trying to figure out how to avoid that. That just looks so good. And so dangerous. Oh yeah, so I haven't done a frame rate test for New York City in a while. I did fly the stock Cirrus over it recently. And I get in the like the mid 30s to 40s. I'm in mostly ultra. I am in ultra settings, and I've customized a few things upward. I'm running a 3080 Ti, But I believe I'm CPU bottlenecked on my rig. I have a Zen 3 Ryzen CPU. I think it was the 3800X. It's a great chip, but it's now from 2 generations ago. Got it. Are you playing Microsoft Flight Sim on Xbox right now? Or is the Xbox just a more powerful rig based on what you're playing right now? Oh, so you got your PPL. Oh, interesting. I feel like most people aspire to get it onto the PC side, but I guess unless you have a crazy rig, Xbox is probably a more economical bet. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so I have aspirations to get my private pilot, so that kind of inspired me to invest in the peripherals. To try to get the most realism, and also honestly just to scratch the itch, because I'm not really able to take time off from work, or I don't want to do a PPL over 2 years. I want to like get the PPL, get my instrument rating, get it done in like 3 months, and just dedicate 3 months to it, like flying like 4 or 5 times a week. But I'm not going to get there until like, I don't know, probably 2024, honestly. But I know I will. It's going to happen. Alright, we got another, I guess like 4 minutes until top of climb, and then we'll do some more fun stuff. Yeah, no, seriously. I wish I had this itch when I was 17 and just forced my parents to pay for it. That also would have been nice. But now I'm an adult with 2 kids and a job, and you know, gotta make it work. So did I get that right? Did you get your private CAS? Oh, nice. So are you hoping to make a career out of aviation at this point? Or you just want to take your certifications as far as you can go? Apologies for the lag in chat. I set it to ultra low latency, but I think there's still a bit of a delay between when the chats come in and when I can respond. So thanks for being patient. Geez, 700 hours. I've actually, I know there's no way in hell I'll get past instrument rating. So I actually never looked at the requirements past that point, but 700 plus hours. Goodness gracious. Oh, good. Awesome. Oh, interesting. So you can get into the airlines before you actually hit the 700 mark. Ah, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because they probably want to get you into the fold sooner. But that means you might be flying one of these, like Airbuses or Boeings for real before too long. Over there in the right seat, of course, but eventually the left seat. Actually, speaking of the left and right seat, I had this crazy experience not so long ago on an American flight, flying from Philly to Destin, Florida for a family getaway. Yeah, no, totally. And at the end of the flight, it was a late night flight. We landed at like 10 p.m. And you know, they noticed that we were with my kids. My kids are like 5 and 2, and the cabin crew was phenomenal on this flight. It's like one of these small Embraer planes, and I find usually on like the smaller planes, like the cabin crew and the flight crew tend to be a bit more personable, and it's a bit more of a kind of like a high touch service environment. So they were brilliant, and they invited my kids up to the cockpit once we were at the stand. And I got to chatting with the cabin crew about my own aspirations to get my pilot's license and all that. So then they invited me up into the cockpit, and I started like literally freaking out. I was having like I was meeting like the president of the United States or something, just panicking. And I was motioning to the right seat, and the captain was like, no, you're sitting here. And I'm like, honestly, like out of respect, I can't take the left seat. Like I have not earned it. And it's like, what are you talking about? Just sit down. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I sit in the pilot seat. I mean, American probably doesn't want to hear this because I'm sure that I wasn't allowed to do this, but they let me do some of the shutdown procedures. Actually, I got to turn off the APU and kind of walk through like what arrival we flew, and it was just a crazy experience. And I barely remember any of it because I think I was just shell-shocked. But yeah, no, that was definitely like a memory of a lifetime. So thank you to that American Airlines crew wherever you are, and I hope you don't get in trouble for me telling the story. My poor wife was in the jetway this whole time, wondering where the hell we were. But man. Alright, we're getting close to cruise here. So we'll just check to see the estimated time of arrival. So at about 44 past. So yeah, we got a brief descent here any minute now. So let's get through all the descent prep, and then we'll talk about across the pond. So first things first, let's pull up, well actually let's check the latest METAR, see if there's anything new here. This is now over an hour old, but we'll take it as current. And the winds are still out of 80, and I think we're expecting runway 35, was it? Oh, interesting. There we go. Runway 35 right. So let's take a look at this airport. We may have no choice but a crosswind landing. Oh, nope, wrong one. This one? The Niners seem to be the maps that we want. Yeah, okay. So yeah, if it's... Yeah, there really is no choice. If the winds are coming out of 80 degrees, then these are our options. So yeah, we'll take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again to the flight deck, Captain speaking. We've just reached our cruising altitude for the flight. As it begins to settle in, I do want to remind you to please keep your feet elbows clear from the aisle as the flight attendants will be coming through the cabin with guidance. Yeah,
no, she definitely figured it out. What became suspect was when my kids came out before me. That's when things got a little weird for her, I think. let's see, we got some details here. I'm just going to assume, well, you know, we went through the trouble of downloading the custom scenery for this, so we're going to go to Terminal 1. So let's get that chart. 29 Bravo. Cool. And apron 1. And yeah, we'll choose our stand on the fly, no problem. Unless ATC comes online between now and then. But let's talk about the approach, because we want to know when we need to descend. Because top of descent doesn't work in the fly-by-wire just yet. So Bravo Kilo 91 Alpha, and here it is. So, looks like SAMKey we need to be below 19,000, roughly. Oh, this is an interesting approach. So it kind of has us do a U-turn away from the airport, and then I guess we connect with the, hopefully with an ILS. I'm sure they have an ILS for that runway. But yeah, may as well do the whole approach. Why not? If we have to, we'll just vector ourselves. But I like doing the whole approaches. They tend to be fun. So let's start. Let's aim to get down to say 18,000 even by SAMKey. So we'll head to our calculator here. Top of descent. When we get down to 18,000, we'll need 66 nautical miles to do that at a 3-degree down angle. Let's round that up to 70 to be safe. So we'll go to our fixes page. Get in SAMKey. And we'll draw a radius, what was it again? I already forgot. 70 nautical miles around that point. Check it out on our map here. There it is. So when we cross that waypoint, which is partially cut off. Let's see. Suzmu. When we cross Suzmu, that is our top of descent. Excellent. Let's brief the rest of the approach. Just make sure we know what we're looking at here. So we have an NDB at the beginning of the star, and then some additional altitude restrictions. We get a speed restriction at Papa Delta 405, so we'll be cognizant of that. We can probably start our approach mode or just manually control our airspeed until we get to Papa Delta 401. And I already forgot our runway. Jesus. 35 right. So for 35 right, there is a special altitude restriction here, so not lower than 2960. So we'll bottom out at 3,000 on the star. All right. So that was 35 right, not 34. Yeah. So 35 right. So going to our approach plates, let's look up 35 right. We got some RNAVs. We have an ILS. We have a Cat 1 ILS. We'll probably want this one, the Yankee. And we have at least a Cat 2. Although in the sim we tend to get Cat 3s everywhere. That has a nice and low minimum of 100 feet, and the ceilings are well above that, so that should be no problem. And let's see where it connects here. So initial approach fix. Papa Delta 401. Alright, we'll have to see where we link up with the approach. We have a VOR here. Alright, the final approach fix. Oh no. Somewhere before. Okay. And then a pretty standard descent 3-degree angle. Oh, we have the kind of radio warning points. That's cool. There's the ILS, and we have the Pudong VOR as well. So a bunch of fixes to pay attention to. Looking at the missed approach here. I'm going to climb straight ahead to 500 feet, then turn left to track 318 to 990, then turn left to PDL VOR, so we'll want to get Papa Delta Lima in there. Alright, so we gotta be picky with our rad navs. we'll keep those charts open. Let's jump into the box and start getting this in here and evaluating the situation. So the arrival, we want ILS 35 right, the ILS Yankee 35 right. There it is, ILS 35 right Yankee. And the star is the, what's the name of it? Bravo Kilo 91 Alpha. There it is. And here's our VIA. This is where I was getting a little confused. Let's see if we can make heads or tails of this. Looking at the options, it's just these three. So Delta 500, Delta 202 X-ray. Oh yeah. Yes, I've been doing these like short 2-hour flights. Looking forward to my first long haul when I do cross the pond next week. So we will talk about that once I finish briefing this arrival. Goodness gracious. This is a busy chart. Let's see if we can see any of these points here. This is marked as the initial approach fix, so it might be so I am going to just guess. And Papa Delta Lima, that's easy. That's this VOR, so that's not that. X-Ray Sierra Yankee. It's not listed as a VIA. So I am just going to choose no VIA and see if that makes sense for this arrival. So insert that. Let's go to plan. And check the arrival. There's that big loop-de-loop. And then from Papa Delta 402, we could just go straight to X-Ray Sierra Yankee. And that's right, that's what we want. So I think that's fine for our purposes. This looks all wonky because we're going so damn fast, but once we slow down, that's all going to connect nicely. And let's just make sure the rest of the ILS looks good. And it does. Straight from Foxtrot, India 35 rights. Alright, great. So I'm fine with that. I'll get the job done. Let's get our rad navs programmed in. We have a few. So let's start with, we'll get this NDB in there. So Bravo Kilo. It'll be this one that's 146 miles away. 227, that matches, that's fine. And then on the approach here, we'll definitely want X-Ray Sierra Yankee. We'll put that in VOR 1. We could switch that over once we pass Bravo Kilo. 112.7, that also tracks. And we could do Pudong, but I think it's more important to get Papa Delta Lima in there for missed approach. So Papa Delta Lima. 109.4, 109.4, that looks good as well. And we'll have the ILS to give us information for the runway, so that's why I'm kind of deprioritizing Papa Uniform Delta there. And there's the ILS frequency there, 101.9, that looks good as well. Great. Fuel prediction check, plenty of fuel, all good there. And we'll get performance information in a moment. Let's get the latest METAR, but let's do it through the box for now. Weather requests, we will clear Taipei. and hit send. And we're doing this because we're assuming there's no ATIS information, because I don't believe there's a ATC online. Oh, wow. Was that 16-hour flight on Cross the Pond, or was it just a flight that you did yourself? That's nuts. In a good way. Like, I commend you for doing that. That's amazing. Just checking. Okay, so with that crazy approach U-turn, we have a bit more time. 3 past. Alright, that weather message has come in. And let's print it out. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things I'd love to do once, just to say that I've done it, but it does sound insane. Alright, once we get this METAR information in, actually, it's a little on the early side, but I'll put it in for now, just so potentially reduce our workload. So performance, get to our approach. So Zulu Sierra Papa Delta QNH 1021. Temperature in Shanghai is 8 degrees. Got nice and cool. We've been in tropical weather for a while now. Winds. Out of 70 at 16 knots, because we're doubling meters per second to convert it. Transition altitude, that looks right. We'll do flaps full landing. Transition level 118, yep. And minimums for a Cat 2 ILS is 100 feet, and the visibility minimums are nice and low as well. So that is all set. Alright, so got our approach briefed. Let's get those on. So we're looking good there. And we got some time to kill. So what I was planning to do during this part was to flash on screen a little chart I made for this upcoming Cross the Pond event, which is happening on April 2nd. So if you're not familiar with Cross the Pond, it's a twice annual event that VATSIM does that organizes about 12 hours of ATC coverage for 1,000 flights. Either flying between North America to Europe and surrounding, or vice versa, going west from Europe to North America. And these events have become incredibly popular to the point where it's hard to get slots, and there's a lottery system when you sign up. The lottery process happened over the last 2 weeks, and we all got our lottery results yesterday. And I got a phenomenal lottery pick. So I get to choose my routing tomorrow at 2100 Zulu, roughly 2140 Zulu, which is one of the earlier slots. The signups are going to occur over the entire business week, and then any leftover inventory I think will become available on March 26th for anyone who wasn't in the lottery to sign up to see, you know, if they can kind of get in. We'll have to reconfirm our choices the week of the event, and if we fail to reconfirm, then our slot is forfeit and someone else can sign up. So like if you didn't get in the lottery and you still want to participate, there are at least two more opportunities to sign up between now and April 2nd, and you can get more information at ctp.vatsim.net. That's CTP for crossthepond.vatsim.net. And what I'm flashing on the screen here are the available routings. So where there's an intersect, where there's a blue box, that means that route is valid. So on the top left here, there are routes from Oslo to Winnipeg, but there are no routes from Oslo to Boston, for example. And the numbers in here, these are the block times, the various flight times that I calculated kind of back of the envelope. assuming you're flying a 787 or similar. This, is not meant to be accurate. It's meant to be kind of a relative gauge of like what's a long haul and what's not. So I think like looks like the longest flight available here, if you just want to go nuts, is this from Istanbul to Tampa. It's 12 hours and 20 minutes block time. For my first one, again, kids, wife, this event could take all day. It's on a Saturday, which is hard to take off from family duties. So I'm trying to get a departure at around 1100 Zulu, which would be 7 a.m. East Coast US time, and trying to minimize the actual flight time. I don't want to fly out of Dublin, which has the fastest hops. Like there is a Dublin to Montreal, which is only 6 hours and 40 minutes. But in Dublin, you're taking off so close to the oceanic barrier. I don't want to get my oceanic clearance on the ground. That feels like boring. Like I want to get in the air. I want to time when I get my oceanic clearance. I want to get some more buffer between myself or the airport I'm departing from and oceanic airspace. So I'm looking at Gatwick. Nice, Cass. Do you do that on VATSIM, or do you do that just through Microsoft Flight Sim multiplayer? I haven't done enough like multi-pilot flying, honestly. It sounds fun. But in any case, the departures that I'm looking at are out of Gatwick, and I think Gatwick Montreal or Gatwick Boston is probably what I'll go for first. Amsterdam also has some nice options to either Montreal or Boston, and even Oslo is quite interesting. But the goal is to get a slot that's as early in the day as possible. Like I don't mind waking up at 5:30 or 6, kind of get things prepped before the family wakes up, so I can kind of spend the afternoon and evening with them. But this is how it looks, and if you want this chart, I just posted it in the Cross the Pond Discord server. You guys can check it out there if you want it for reference. But I'll leave it up for a little bit if you guys are interested in kind of continuing to peruse this little matrix I created. Kicked from the session for rushing too much. Interesting. I've never had the pleasure of being kicked off VATSIM before. Speaking of, let me just make sure I'm still connected. I am. I'm actually going to do a quick traffic check to see, because it is Sunday during the day in China right now. Looks like towers online in Nanjing, just to the west. But no one's there. Let's see, is anyone flying into Zulu Sierra Papa Delta tonight? Yeah, we've got a few flights, but coming from New Zealand, so they're going to be arriving like way after us. But that's quite a flight, Auckland to Shanghai. Goodness. I love people's dedication to the flight sim craft. Alright. Yeah, so I'm guessing we're not going to get lucky with ATC coverage. Just looking at the South Pacific in general, we have some delivery controllers, some ground. We have Melbourne Center. When we flew through there, they were really good to us. Those are some great controllers. And actually, Ho Chi Minh Center was also awesome. That was a fun one to fly through as well. That was the last time we had ATC on this around the world trip. Cool, so we should be tracking over the ground now. And we are, yes. So we are over mainland China. The ocean is back there somewhere. And the clouds just aren't quitting. We're about 80 miles from our top of descent, so things will get fun pretty soon. When we get to top of descent, I'll take this chart off the screen. I'm sure you guys don't want to stare at my spreadsheet the whole rest of the flight. But I found it pretty interesting. So there's some pretty cool options here if you are willing to spend the time. I'm planning to do kind of a more plain vanilla oceanic crossing via the standard nat tracks. Since this is my first time doing cross the pond, just want to make sure I kind of like ease into it. But this one, Tenerife, if I pronounce that correctly, is I think a Spanish island off the coast of Africa, and from there you can fly to Atlanta, Newark, which would be a fun one. That's my home international airport. Tampa, but there's also Caribbean destinations for this cross the pond. So Guadeloupe, Martinique, and Barbados, which are all in the South Caribbean. So that is pretty fun, and those are also pretty short legs as well. It's just I don't know what kind of routing to expect in the mid-South Atlantic, so I was just going to avoid that for this one. And I'd rather fly into like a larger international airport, just kind of get the full VATSIM experience. Yeah, Cass, I had the same experience. Like I used to sweat bullets logging onto VATSIM and contact controllers, especially New York controllers. So I think my first VATSIM flight was out of LaGuardia, and the tower controller there had such like a thick Long Island accent, but like the intimidating kind, like he could work for the mob kind of accent. But couldn't have been a nicer guy, and just really kind of helped me through. I did my homework ahead of time, so I wasn't completely useless, but gave me some good advice and was just incredibly supportive. And it seems like the aviation community in general seems to be the same. You know, whether you're simming or flying for real, there's some really, really good people in aviation. It's getting bumpy. You can see the speed tape bouncing up and down. So let's get that seatbelt sign on. We were expecting to get turbulence the closer we got to our top of descent, so this is not totally unexpected. Yeah, that's for damn sure. Singing happy birthday and still sound intimidating. It's a fact. I grew up around New York City, but somehow I was able to avoid the accent. I chalk that up to having immigrant parents. Like I was gifted with the generic American accent. It is quite bumpy. Usually it's hard to kind of tell, but right now, let's hop into which one am I looking for? Oh, I mean, you get a good sense on that one, but I want to see the inside. Not this one, not this one, this one. In turbulence, you really get to see the flex of the wings a bit. Yeah, look at that bumping up and down. Woo! Yep. Got some bumps. Check the other side. I mean, obviously it's the same story, but... Wow! Oh, that's not good. That really does not seem like fun. Alright, let's see. If it gets much worse, we should consider different altitudes. Let me check the OFP. If there's any forecast. They're approaching Suzmu. And the winds are all, I mean, it kind of gets a little bit less intense. Flight level 351. But we're pretty close to our top of descent, so if we can just hold on for a little bit longer. Yeah. I'm very curious, and as a private pilot, you probably have experience with this, but I have to believe, like, no one likes turbulence, and even if you're the pilot in command, I'm sure turbulence can still be a little unsettling, but is it easier when you're actually holding the controls in your hand and you know it's your aircraft? Like, does that make the shakes better, or does it not help at all? I'm very curious. Because it's like when I'm a passenger in a car, like I hate... Like, I find I'm in more anxious situations more often, but if I'm the one driving, it's like I'm fine, because I'm the one in control. I know I'm like the master of my own destiny. Even though it's a foolish thing to assume, because, like, you know, you're at the mercy of air currents, you know, that you can't control that, but I just wonder if it's easier. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that would be what I would think, and I'm kind of happy that's the reality. And there's a bunch of pilots I follow on YouTube, and there's plenty of videos of those pilots like getting nervous themselves when they hit pretty bad turbulence, but I'm sure most of the time it's better. All right, I'm going to get this spreadsheet off the screen here, so we can focus on our plan. So we're just about, let's say, 30 miles, oh, actually no, 33 miles exactly from Susumu, which is the exact top of descent point for us tonight. And out of curiosity, let's see how that compares to the OFP. Because last time the OFP screwed us on this regard, but tonight... It expected 40, almost 40 miles past Susumu would be top of descent, and that's not right. It also has a slowing down dramatically, which I think helps the descent, but I think this is a much safer way to do it. Oh, nice. The DA62, that's a Diamond 62. Let me remind myself what that looks like. Wait a minute, that's what I thought. You trained in a twin prop? Can you do that before... Can you just, like, jump into a DA62 and train on that before doing a single prop? This is a nice plane. This is a gorgeous plane. I've seen this plane. It's a stunner. Like, I have my sights set on training in a Cirrus, but yeah, okay, that's awesome. And also, just like the multi-engine just feels safer, right? Because you have that redundancy. Just out of curiosity, how much do one of these things cost? Whew. I mean, over $1 million. I mean, it's not much more expensive than a Cirrus, but still, geez, when you get into the 7 digits, it gets really real. Yeah, so for jet training, how does that work? Like, yeah, I know you have the Cirrus Vision. You have the Honda jets are on the smaller side, but like, do you just spend a ton of time in the simulator on the big jets, and then they just throw you into an Airbus, or like is there a step? Is there an interim step in jet training to kind of get you to the commercial airliners? All right, friends, we're just about top of descent here. Let's get 18,000 plugged in. Hopefully these bumps will abate as we get down. Alright, let's get down. Open descent. Thrust idle. Let's see what the latest weather is at this point. For 3 Zulu, winds have shifted a bit, but still 16 knots. QNH 1022, what do we have here?
From the flight deck, ladies and gentlemen, as you may have noticed, we have begun our initial descent down to our destination. Now would be a good time to wrap up any business you need to take care of as we prepare for our approach. If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated until your aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival.
And temperature is still 8 degrees. That is still fine. Alright. Probably the last time we have to update that. Because we are now what? About... Oh, whoa. This feels like really bad turbulence. This is really nuts. ACJ 320. You're throwing out airplane names that I'm not familiar with. Let's take a look at this. I see. So it's a smaller commercial liner, but it's that's still, I mean, it's pretty big. I mean, still be intimidating to fly. Wait. Oh, it's the corporate version of the Airbus 320. Oh, interesting. Very cool. Now we're heading straight for those clouds. Let's get our range back up so we can see our approach coming. Oh yeah, for sure. And the sight picture on the 747 has to be nuts because you're just so high above the ground. Despite the bumps, we're descending nicely. You can kind of see the ground through some breaks in the clouds there. Alright, we're about 11 miles from Bravo Kilo. Which is the start of our star. So let's get constraints on and let's see what we've got pre-programmed in here. So okay, we have still kind of inconsistent with the altitude minimums. So we'll just manage that manually, but we do have some of the speed restrictions in here as well, so we'll watch out for that. Progress here. So what are we doing? Zulu, Papa, Sierra Delta, and we're doing 3-5 right. It didn't work this time. Interesting. Oh, I had it backwards. Zulu Sierra Papa Delta. There we go. About 78 miles to the runway. As we passed that NDB, we'll head over to the X-Ray Sierra Yankee VOR, which is right before our final approach fix. And on VOR 2 we have Papa Delta Lima, which is for our missed approach procedure. Now we're 20 miles from Samkey, and we're going to be within the altitude restriction and no problem. So looking ahead, alright, next restriction comes up at Papa Delta 208, so let's aim to be at 9,000 feet by then. So at this point, I'll just get us down there. Got 9,000 feet in the box. And since we're clearing ourselves below transition level, we'll go back to local QNH, and that was what, 1022? Oop. As we continue getting down. And now thinking 3 steps ahead, we'll have a speed restriction, Papa Delta 405, and let's see if that is reflected on the nav. It's kind of hidden there, but it is there. So if we stay in managed speed, it should guide us to that speed automatically, but we'll just watch to make sure, because the fly-by-wire has been a little inconsistent with managed speed and altitude on approaches, and I imagine that will be the case until the fly-by-wire guys get the VNav loaded in. The long anticipated VNAV system, to allow us to do RNP approaches, which will be fantastic. RNP and RNAV. Alright, taking a look at Shanghai countryside. Stunningly beautiful, of course. Has the METAR information. Just light rain and mist. Hopefully it hasn't gotten worse. So is that Garmin failing you in the sim or Garmin failing you in real life? Because the latter would be really scary. What's our next altitude restriction after Papa Delta 208? So we have a floor of about 3,000 feet. Yeah, I mean, you'd think in real life that those things have to be pretty foolproof. That would just be crazy. Yeah, I once interviewed an engineer, a software engineer who worked on one of those Garmin products that replaces like the steam gauges and like the Cessnas with like steam gauge sized glass cockpit instruments. Forget what it was called. But I really like dug in with her on the QA process for like letting those things go to market. And I'm happy to say that, well, one, she was probably one of the most intelligent engineers I've ever interviewed. But two, they were, like, their QA process was absolutely bonkers, testing for safety. Because when you put one of those things in an airplane, like, people's lives are on the line. Like, that's a lot of responsibility in a little handheld device. Alright, we're now inbound of Papa Delta 208. Got this big cloud layer in front of us. This is, oh, wow. What is with that color? Let me get Navigraph out of the way. I'm gonna get a snapshot here. That's super cool. What is creating that? It's like literally a purple haze. That's so pretty. Wow. And there's a rainbow. Come on. This is all going up on my Instagram, Mike November Whiskey. No filter hashtag. That's crazy. That looks dangerous. Alright, so we're leveling out to decelerate to 250 knots. Let's get our landing lights on. Yeah, that was crazy. I'm glad you got to witness that, Cass. That was just nuts. And continuing our descent. We're cutting it close, getting to our required flight level here. Can we do it in 5 nautical miles? Can we lose 500 feet? Race against time. Yep, and I think we're good. So I'm going to take us down to 3,000 at this point, which we will stay probably for the duration. When do we intercept the ILS? So pretty much at 3,000 feet. Yeah, so we're here until ILS intercept. Nice. And what's the climb out altitude? We'll want to get back to 3,000, so I'll pump in 3,000. Oh, so I'll just keep it. This stays at 3,000 for the duration of the flight, because that'll be good for missed approach as well. All right. Down we go, friends. At this point, let's do the approach checklist. The briefing is confirmed. ECAM status is checked. Landing distance we have not confirmed. Let's just double check our landing brake setting. These runways should be hella long. Yeah, like 4 kilometers. Oh, we're doing 3.5 right. In my mind we were doing 3.4. Just make sure I have that right. 3.5 right. Always good to double check. So 3.5 right, and that is 4 kilometers. So we'll do low braking, no problem. And we'll actually go over to Terminal 2, so we can drive through the scenery and take a look at it. So we'll get rid of this chart. Oh no! And we'll look at. So parking stands, Charlie, is this what we want? Yes, so Terminal 2. Awesome. Alright, watching for that speed restriction to kick in. We'll have about like 7 miles to get there. Or 5 miles rather. We can bleed 20 knots in 5 miles. So we'll just watch the magenta triangle here, make sure that drops down to 230. But will we stay there? You know, I don't think we will. It may actually reset to 250 once we cross that waypoint. So, because I don't want to test fates, we'll go to manual speed. And we'll slow ourselves down. Yeah. Yeah, you can't trust the can't trust managed speed on the approach on the fly-by-wire at the moment, which is a shame. And when's the next speed restriction after that? There is another one. We may just want to go straight there. I don't think it's going to make too much difference in terms of time. Yeah, we want to be at 220 knots by this point, so. Once we're inbound to Papa Delta 405, we'll just drop to 220. Yeah, I'd love to try X-Plane. I just haven't had an overwhelming desire to, because I just love the visuals of Flight Sim, of the Microsoft version, and it's hard for me to let go of that. X-Plane 12 looks good, but until that comes out, I think I'll be sticking to this. Alright. Let's slow ourselves down to 220 knots. Yeah, and I think it's safe to say for visual flight, for VFR flying, Microsoft Flight Simulator wins hands down. Because if you're going to spend 90% of the time looking out your window, well, right now, this is a bad time to talk about VFR flight, when we are in, like, the truest of IMC. But alright, we are at altitude. We're at our speed restriction, speed alts. We'll turn our landing system on at this point, but we'll hold off on activating the approach until we're inbound X-Ray Sierra Yankee. TCAS set to below. Should have done that a long time ago. Yeah. Talks about visuals of flying, only instruments. Yes. The irony is not lost on me. But like, even this detail here where like the instruments appear brighter because we're flying through thick clouds, like, that's awesome. Gotta tone these down a bit. Take one last look at the METAR information to see if there's anything new. Yeah, 1020, so adjusting our altimeter setting for the latest. Winds are back. Oh, winds have gotten worse. So we're looking at a 20 knot crosswind. Shit. I have not practiced crosswind landings enough, so this might be awful. Ceilings are still at 800 though, so we should be fine on minimums. And just light rain. So let's put this latest information into 70 at 10. Sorry, 70 at 20 because we're converting for meters per second. This is meters per second, right? Yeah, MPS. 1020 and 8 degrees still. Okay, this will be the last update we do. And now we know we're using the latest data. Actually, I'm going to activate the approach phase now. So let's go, because I don't want to make this turn super tight. I think I'd rather slow down and make a wider turn. So manage speed, going down to green dot. Speed checked flaps 1. Just to slow down that airspeed a little bit. And we should see this turn redraw a little bit. Make it a bit smoother on our way to X-Ray Sierra Yankee. With this much weather, a slower approach, I am definitely not against. Alright, we're now inbound X-Ray Sierra Yankee, which is right before our final approach fix. We'll see that here. X-Ray Sierra Yankee VOR, 3 miles from the final approach fix. That's about 20 miles from the airport. So we'll activate the approach there. Autopilot 2 coming online. Cat 3 dual. So we have auto land if we need it. How's the temperature? Temperatures are fine, not anticipating icing. Oh, for across the pond? I'm thinking, well, I need to sign up for it. My sign-up time is tomorrow afternoon. But I think I'm going to shoot for either Gatwick, Montreal, or Gatwick, Boston. But I'll also consider Oslo, Montreal. That looked like another good one. But I think Gatwick, Boston is probably the top choice. Yeah, actually leaving out of Oslo might be, that's a really good point. Like Gatwick will be fun because it'll be super busy. I'm sure Oslo will be busy too. Like it's across the pond, like there's 1,000 pilots. Lokestar. And establish on the localizer. Speed checked, flaps 2. Yeah, that's true. It's true, and I need to practice holds because for across the pond, like you're gonna hold. There will be holding. Shanghai traffic, China Southern 984 is on 10-mile final, ILS runway 35 right. Shanghai traffic. Gears going down. Speed brakes armed. Get lights into Christmas tree mode. You can see our crab angle to compensate for the crosswind. Glide slope. And descending. Speed check flaps 3. Radio altimeter is alive. So if this is to be believed, we should break out of this, well, hopefully any time now. Ceilings are at 800. Alright, speed checked, flaps full. Lane checklist, cabin crews advised, auto throttles on speed, auto brake is set to low, now it is. ECAM memo, landing, no blue. Landing checklist is complete. There's the first radio beacon. 5 miles from the runway. This is damn freaky. Our minimums are 100, so like, oh, we're breaking through. We are breaking through. That is amazing. Still no visual on the runway though, but wow. I promised weather. Oh, there it is. And with the crab angles like all the way to the left. That's crazy. I'm gonna stay in autopilot for a while. I'm not gonna chance this. One thousand. So 600 feet to minimums. We should be fine, but we're not quite there yet. Five hundred going manual. Crosswind has gotten a bit better, but we do have to crab a little bit. I'll correct with rudders right before touchdown.
300.
Small adjustments here.
100 above. Minimum.
Continue.
50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. 10, 5.
Rudder to compensate. Oh, that felt like a slam. Reverse green. Decel. At least I was dead on center line though. That's something. 70 knots. Rolling out. We'll take the next taxiway to our right. Ooh. What was the descent rate there? It sounded loud, but I didn't actually see the number. Oh no, you're kidding! Was it over 300 feet per minute? Oh no! Oh, that's so painful! Oh my god, yep. That was right over the limit, wasn't it? Damn it. I felt so good about it in the moment. I'm like, I have this, I have this, I have this. But nope, not today, friends. Shanghai traffic, China Southern 984 is clear of runway 35 right. Shanghai traffic. Ah, all right, well, this is why we practice, right? This is why we work in the sim. Let's get the APU started. 1, 2, and 3. Let's get things cleaned up here as well. Take off lighting. Let's get speed brakes disarmed, flaps retract. Weather system off. ATC to standby, TCAS to standby. Sorry, ATC to auto, TCAS to standby. Yeah, I think I was so focused on like the crab angle and doing the crosswind thing and compensating with aileron that I just the flare was not aggressive enough. Not quite Ryanair level, I would hope, but probably close to it. Alright, landing system flight directors coming off. I think that is enough. After landing checklist, flaps are retracted, spoilers disarmed, APU is on, radars are off and on standby, predictive windshield system is off. We'll do a 2-engine taxi because I don't want to get fancy. Let's figure out where we are and where we're going. We ended up at, looks like Alpha 5. Yeah, so we're at Alpha 5, so we'll take Papa 4, hang a right. Actually, no, let's take Bravo down to Tango, and we'll cross over to Terminal 2 there. So, alright, let's roll. Yeah, so honestly, I find bouncing a lot more embarrassing than slamming the thing down. So I will say that's an improvement over our landing at Taipei. Alright, so this is the custom scenery for Zulu Papa Sierra Delta? Did I have that backwards? So once we are on Bravo and on a nice straightaway, we'll hop outside and take a better look. Which from here it looks pretty good. A little more power. I think turning into the wind there, slowing us down in our taxi. Alright, let's hop on out. Yeah, if we were sub 270 it would have been good. Yeah, no worries. I gotcha. I gotcha. And honestly, the difference between, what was it, 305 and 270 probably would have been like a millimeter extra on the pullback. But I still have work to do, kind of memorizing the sight picture, and I still don't know whether to, like... I think real pilots go between the instruments and the sight picture back and forth. They don't rely on one or the other. That one I was all sight picture. I wasn't really paying attention to the PFD, but I probably should have been. This is beautiful scenery. Look at this. Is a huge airport too. This will be fun to depart out of. I got Bravo. I'll get some more speed going. We're going at a snail's pace here. Yeah, I'm glad to practice with the live weather. On this round the world trip, we've been very lucky with the weather, honestly. We've had just gorgeous weather ever since we left Newark. Like that maybe was the second crosswind landing we've done in 40 flights. Okay, here's Tango 4. So we'll be making our right here and enjoy more of this beautiful airport. Yeah, so I've been doing real-time flights. And I've only been able to fly evening time East Coast, US. So when we left Newark, it was dark, and we basically flew through the night until we got to the Middle East. And as we make our way back to North America, we'll be chasing the sunset on our way back to Newark. So we've got about 15 flights left. on this journey. We're going to continue up the East Asian coast, cross back over into North America at Alaska, cut down through Canada, and then cross the U.S. From San Francisco eastward to Newark. That's the plan. And probably always doing like late evening flights like this. Still going real slow because we're going into that wind. Give a little bit more power. Hop on out. Yeah, it's been great. It's taken forever. Like this is the flight number 40. I started this in November. So, I mean, it's pretty good progress given, you know, this is not a full-time gig, obviously, but like 2 or 3 flights a week. Meeting some cool folks along the way like yourself. Oh man, I just wish more people are on VATSIM right now. Get some more planes in those stands. Alright, what's taxiway we're looking for now? So Romeo 4. Oh no, sorry. No, well, I guess Echo? Left on Echo? And then just pick a stand. Yeah, usually like the after work crowd, right? Like when folks are off work. Let's see where the traffic is in Asia right now. I forgot, I actually have the day off work tomorrow, and I keep thinking tomorrow's Sunday, but it's not. It's Monday for most people. Yeah, but it's pretty quiet. Even the U.S. is getting pretty quiet at this point. Just a few. It looks like New York City is on. Got New York approach, and that's pretty much it. Philadelphia ground. Oh, interesting. We can go in this way. Let's get to that far side. That's really cool. Yeah, the detail of this airport, they've done a really nice job. But yeah, but the nice thing about doing these East Coast evening flights, when we get back to the United States on this round the world journey, we'll have ATC coverage probably for like the last 5 or 6 flights completely, which will be really awesome. I will be taking a break. I'll be flying the 787 for across the pond, so I need to train up on that. So starting about a week from now, we'll do some like training flights in preparation for that. Let's hop down Whiskey 6. Oh, nice. And was did you have ATC coverage on that route? Pick a stand here. Let's check out that red sign down there. Oh, you can actually see the interior of the terminal. Look at that. It's not just pancake. It's actually rendered inside. That's awesome. Yeah, you'd think Sunday night people would want to get their fixes in before they have to go back to the work week, but what are the busier nights of VATSIM? What, Friday and Saturday probably? Oh yeah, let's take the stand right in front of that Shanghai sign. That's fun. Oh, getting some stuttering. Alright, so it looks like this next stand. Let's get the lights off so we don't blind the ground crew. And we'll roll into stand 73. That sounds like a good number. Perfect. We'll marshal ourselves in here. Oh, there are actual markers on the ground. So down A300, do I see the A320 anywhere? Oh, this next one? Ah, close enough. Alright, parking brake is on, APU is on, we get the APU bleed on, and engine 2, engine 1 coming off, seatbelt signs coming off. Yeah, they really did a great job. Even look at all these ground vehicles, like all custom, all custom. Beacon come off now. Let's do our parking checklist. APU bleed is on, engines are off, seatbelts are off, exterior lights are as required. Strobes can actually go off now. What else we got? Fuel pumps can come off, and parking brakes are on, so parking checklist is complete. Let's get that jetway connected and get some power. Lovely. Yeah, they even did a custom texture on the jetway. That's awesome. Oop. Clips in a little bit, but that's fine. No worries. Yep, the jetway has entered the cockpit. Alright, so let's finish cleaning this up. So, come out the overhead. Yeah, can't nail everything. Let's get the IRSs off. 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Crew supplies coming off. Let's get the lights off here. Let's go over to external power, get the APU bleed and APU off. Nav and logo lights come off now as well. Let's clean up the rest of the cockpit. This is where I go a little nuts. Cass, I'm just going to warn you, I shut down everything. And this is, I just started doing this after I had one pilot talk about how airlines are obsessive with making sure every little pixel in every display having their life just maximized. So dimming the screens when you're securing the aircraft, just those extra seconds add up to extra minutes and extra hours of the life of an aircraft. And ever since then, I'm just like, okay, I will do that every flight. Radios are coming off. Integrated lights coming off here. ATC to standby, and everything else looks good. Just reset the rudder trim, unlock the door, which we've already done. That all looks good. Even the fly pad, power off, boom. And now there's nothing left to do. The APU is still spooling down. So while that is happening, I'm going to do a quick tour with the drone cam of this scenery. So increase the speed so we can move around a bit faster. Let's take a look inside. I mean, that is a crazy amount of detail. Is that right? Do you think I'm screwing the next pilot by doing this weird thing that I do? This is really impressive stuff. Let's go to the lower level. Yeah, they do have a lower level as well. And then here's the main terminal area. Look at that. Look at that. That's so cool. Domestic departures, international, Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan departures. So we definitely chose the right terminal by that measure. Airport hotel. Let's check this side. What is this? Is it different? International Hong Kong. Oh no. So they're reusing some textures. But I mean, seriously, this is just so well done. Congrats to the team that built this. It was a little pricey. I did commit to buying all the scenery on the routing. I think this was like $26 US, but I don't know. That just looks super cool. All right, enough wasting time. I'm sure our APU is turned off at this point. Are you serious? I know not every airport is like this. A very small handful of airports are to this level of detail, and you have to pay for it. So this is payware airport. But this is one of the better payware airports I've seen. All right. So external power can come off. Battery 2, battery 1, and we are back to cold and dark. And I think for my own health, I should go sleep. This is where I think we leave each other for the night. But Cass, special thanks to you for sticking with us the majority of the way tonight. I hope you enjoyed the flight. Oh wow. Yeah, it gets pricey. It gets pricey for sure. But let's just double check before I sign off. Let me confirm where we'll be flying next. We are heading to Romeo Kilo Sierra, India. That's Incheon International Airport. I believe that's in Japan. Oh, no, sorry, South Korea. We're heading to South Korea next. So we'll try to get that stream sometime this week. And yeah, thanks again. Feel free to follow for the folks on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe. We'll be doing these 2 to 3 nights a week, and of course, Cross the Pond is coming up in 2 weeks, and I'll be streaming that entire flight. So that will be a fun one. But yeah, thanks again. Really appreciate the company tonight and the good conversation, Cass. And hope to see you again soon.